Raina, today has been a day, but it's not over with.
Not over. We just getting started.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That is
Yes,
what I'm
indeed.
talking about. I appreciate you.
Only you, Mr. Terrell. Only for you. Only for you.
And we laughing. New York. We a part of the. We're part of the whole makeup.
Oh, man.
And days like this, sometimes I'm not gonna lie to you. I was just like, damn, I could have called it off, but I'm like, nah, I'm such a fan.
And I appreciate you. Thank you.
I'm such a fan.
Thank you.
And I thank you. As a lady, despite whatever, there's always well, listen, I don't know if my hair may be off but you still thugging it.
Hey, you gotta keep it going. You gotta keep it going. But no one in the comments, y'all, don't talk about my little beady bees flying off the side because the rain got me bad.
She only see that. We don't see that.
But no, thank you for having me, Mr.
Of course. I initially met you at your listening event.
Yes.
For your second album. I want to say
this is the first. This is the first album.
It was an EP. Well, you put out an EP, and I'm just saying that I was going to give some clarity on that now.
Uh-huh.
But for a first album, right? 24 tracks.
Yes, sir.
So I'm there. I'm in zone, right? I'm in zone. I said, I'm a fan. So I love the aesthetics. I love the location. I love what you brought in. I love the whole setup.
Thank you.
But I said 24 tracks. The mindset.
Had y'all sit there for what, an hour and 20 minutes?
Yes. I said the mindsets of the typical individual in this day and time cannot sit through 6 songs.
Absolutely.
Tell me the concept behind the fact of putting out 24 before we even delve into the title.
No, absolutely. To me, I'm really big. I'm a hip hop purist, and so hip hop has always been about, how much material can you show people to show them that you're serious and that you can really rap. And I think that was a very, very important part of the mixtape era, and so I wanted to bring that back a little bit. The 20 through 24 song track list, and where you're just rapping for sport, and it's not a matter of trying to cater to people's new attention styles or lack thereof, attention spans rather, and this digital age of instant glorification, but it's more so you're making people sit down and listen to things, and it's for the person who wants to sit down and listen to things, and for the person who doesn't want to listen to an album through, we're in a playlist generation anyway.
Indeed.
Yeah, so why not make my own Raina Simone playlist, and you go and tap into whatever song you want to tap into, and for the purists that's there who want to listen through and have an album feel and understand that the songs transition from one to another and tell a story. So a little bit of both worlds, but I definitely did not want to short myself or my own artistry or my own thoughts and feelings on hip-hop based on another's attention span. I don't really make music for others, but I love that others are willing to listen.
I was anticipating this response, right? I was anticipating this. I said, she's sharp, y'all. She's sharp. She's sharp. The typical individual would have been like, she says, listen, I do it for me.
Absolutely.
But I'm also taking it back to the essence, because that's where I came from, the essence, And I had to reprogram my mind there. I said, oh, 24. I said, I'm going to get into it, though. And I zoned out. The greater thing about it was that, for me, it was a storyline. It took me through, I was in church for a second, right? When you threw on that, I think grandma, it was grandma bass. It was the sound. It gave me something. Like it was.
I think you're talking about a record called Black Messiah.
Black Messiah, but the science behind it was so. It took me back. I was in a. Being my age, I'm young though, right? Watch your mouth.
Of
right?
course. I wouldn't think anything other than.
But, so when we got to that part, I knew I had to stay. Right, I knew that this was.
Thank you for staying. Thank you for coming. Thank you for staying.
I knew it was gonna be tasteful.
Interview.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be tasteful. But there was a myriad of different sounds, and you catered to. For me, it seemed like you catered to not only the elements of music, but the elements of life.
Thank you.
There were some songs I just felt that the poetic side of you just came out. and you were just like, F it, I'm just gonna expound on what's going on and who I am and why I came here. And then there was some things where I said, okay, she can get a little, a little risque with it. You know what I mean?
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just lightly.
A little bit, let them know something every once in a while.
Yeah. Tell me about the sound. Tell me about the elements and the arts of your album.
Yeah, absolutely. To me, the sonics are just as important as the lyrics. And so, I've always considered myself a producer first before anything else. And so the sonic qualities of the mixes are really, really important to me. So I did put a lot of little secrets in there throughout the album. For instance, on No Peace, there's a part where you'll hear someone in the background, if you're really paying closely attention, like whistling, and then you hear them spit.
Mm-hmm.
And so little things like that I've done on purpose. But, of course, back in the day, I got to bring it back to the plantation times. It was forbidden for those who were enslaved to eat the food or to be talking or anything while
Indeed.
bringing the food. And so they started making them do the whistle walk, where they had to whistle to make sure they understood what their mouths were doing. But, the form of resistance was to spit anyway.
Indeed. Indeed.
So, little sonic pieces like that, you'll hear that I have waves whenever I'm touching back into my ancestry and going into those political records. Those waves represent the transatlantic slave trade and just my going across the water. And then very, very little details that I thought were really important that I want to put out there. But also, I think it's just an eclectic project in general outside of, some of the socio-political elements. I love music at its core, so however I can mix, jazz and blues and give it the underlying hip-hop backbeat, I love to do that. Even drill elements, I really try to tap into every element of hip-hop at every point where hip-hop has existed.
Yes, and I like the fact that there's a song that, and it's not on this album, which I think it was the last track on your EP. Oh man, I forgot the name, but it spoke about drill, right? And at that time, it was 2022 that you put that out. At that time, of course, we as a people was experiencing a lot.
Right.
Drill was speaking in volumes. The sound, the art, the artists, right, were actually becoming actors or actress, right, based off of the fact that they were living that out, right? So I forgot the song.
That one's called To My Heart's Outro, but I actually have a rendition of it called Another Op on this most recent album.
Right.
Because I had more to say, so everything I already said, I just added to for another about 3 minutes or so.
Right. So, but I also like the fact that once again you broke it down, the elements of what we going on as a people, right? But the fact that you incorporated, I heard some drill sounds on this album as well. Absolutely. Okay, yeah, we can talk about that, but it still has become a part of hip hop. You know what I mean? I'm not going to negate the sound. I do like the sound. I'm still of the era. You know what I mean? I can define or give you how I'm feeling and how it makes people feel and what it makes them do, but I still am a part of this generation.
Absolutely.
How hard was that to maintain?
You know what? I didn't think it was that hard. I really pulled from my own experiences and my own life and my own things that I hear every day. And drill, being in New York, that's part of it.
Right.
And so when I'm in the car with people like my pops and he's blasting, throwback old school hip hop, I'm taking that in too.
Right.
When I'm with some of my friends and they're playing drill music, I'm taking that in too. But I think the beautiful thing about hip hop is that it continues to evolve into new shapes and forms.
Indeed.
And I think that's really, really powerful. There are a few genres that have enough power to be able to do that successfully. So that further is why I like to tap into every single one. It's not just about the beat. You can say anything you want over a beat.
Right.
You can love the sonics of a drill sound and not want to get on talking about how many people you're killing that day.
And that's I love that challenge. Because a lot of times as the artist, I'm not gonna do the drill sound. But when you in that car or you in that club and that drill sound come on,
right,
you in a zone.
Yeah.
Despite what they say, you in a zone. So I like the fact that you were able to incorporate, right, a slew of different sounds, right? And I won't say to diminish the drill sound itself, but just to add on. But lyrically give it something that just like, damn, I didn't know you could go there with a drill set. You know what I mean?
No, I appreciate it. That was definitely the goal.
Yeah. Do you consider yourself an MC or a rapper?
100%.
Or a rapper?
You know what? I don't think I've ever considered myself a rapper, and it's unfortunate because I probably should, but I think, when I really like came up and came into my understanding of self, it was like the 20 teens, and so that was a time where mumble rap was really big, and rapper kind of had a negative connotation to it. So I never really wanted to call myself a rapper, but I would definitely consider myself an MC, and I would definitely consider myself a poet that is also a producer that loves to mesh the two. And then just going back to what you were saying in terms of the sonics of this album too. This album was kind of like my autobiography, where I wanted to introduce people to who I am, even if no one had ever heard of me ever before.
Right.
So everyone was like, why would you do that? Like, at least give them something first. But I just wanted to be like, hi, this is me, here I am. But so the sonics in that way, too, are all derivative of the places where I'm from. So,
Indeed.
I got some bounce records on there. That's my mama's side. Of course, I got the old school New York hip-hop, and then the new school New York hip-hop sounding like drill. That's where I'm from. I got some Milwaukee sounds on there, but I tried to really mesh all of my cultures and bring some geography into there and incorporate that with the sonics. So,
how long did it take you to put this? I want to say, I'm trying to be real meticulous, and I'm just gonna say album.
yeah. This one is definitely a full length album. How long did it take? You know what? I went into the studio to start recording things last year, August, actually. And for a very long time, it was finished, and I kind of just let it sit because I knew that there was more that I wanted to do sonically, but I didn't necessarily know how I wanted to go about it yet or how I wanted to order the songs such that they were telling the story that I wanted to communicate. So I'd say I let it sit for a few months. And then, I'm also really big, too, on I don't want anything to drop on deaf ears.
Right.
So, I made sure that all resources were in order, no matter how long it took, to make sure that I could push it properly the way I wanted to. Which took a few more months.
Right.
But yeah, I would say in total, in terms of making the actual music, it took about maybe 4 months or so. And then just being a crazy person and going back to mixes and masters and wanting to change beats and the whole nine.
Right.
It ended up being a few more months. And then just, getting things in order and ducks in a row ended up being some more months. So maybe about a year in total, but the music itself took about 4 months.
Right.
I try to do like 3 songs a day. So there's always, just music sitting. But it's really important to me to line things up correctly.
So did you have over 20? I know you had over 24.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my goodness.
How did you narrow it down?
Well, you know what? Some I knew that I wanted to save for a second project because there's another story, of course, that I'm going to be wanting to tell with the second project. So things that fit that narrative more so, I said, all right, we're gonna hold those on the back burner. And then, some I just didn't feel like represented who I was anymore. There's that, too. I feel like a different person every day, although of the same makeup. But it definitely took some time to narrow things down.
Yeah. So we jump right into the elements of the songs and the sonic, the sound, everything, right? But the title, please break down the title.
I always knew I wanted my first album to be called Old Soul, New Conscious, and I think the reason for that is because I feel like that title describes me. And again, like I said, this was in many ways sort of my sonic autobiography, but I don't think there's ever been a time where I haven't been told that I'm an old soul by
you definitely give that
somebody in my village. So that's something that's kind of just stuck with me throughout my life. Somebody's always like, "Oh, you're an old soul."
Yeah.
Old soul. So there's the old soul part, and I think you hear a lot of that in the music too. I love elements of blues and jazz and even Mississippi Delta blues. That that 50s influence. I love stuff like that. My grandfather used to play that all the time. Still does. So that's the old soul part. And if something's old, something got to be new, So there's the new conscious. I think that's another thing that I bring to the old soul part. So while it's sonically old soul, you hear a lot of elements of music and genres that you've heard before, although in new ways. I think now you're hearing them from a new perspective and a new state of consciousness here in 2024 from Gen Z. And just reiterating some of those things.
Do you think that your market, this sound is catering to that 40s and up as well?
Oh, absolutely. And you know what? I actually love that.
Right.
I love that. I get a lot of respect from those who I feel are most in touch with real hip hop. So to me, that's beautiful to me as somebody who loves real hip hop and is a hip hop purist.
Right.
Although, of course, I like other genres as well, but I really am a hip hop kid. You know?
Right. No. This is great, right? Because, we immediately, right, you as that person that's in that age bracket, right? I've learned to bridge a gap, right? So
which is so important. That's the only way things move
indeed,
forward.
indeed. So I'll listen to a myriad of different sounds and welcome a new, because in hip hop right now, there's a host of new titles. We got a sexy drill, right? I'm like,
Yep.
what? But I'll listen to it and I'll be like, man, I'm rocking with that, right? So I don't like to pigeonhole myself, because, when we growing up or in this day and time, everything now to us, 90s. I'm like, yo, a lot of stuff in the 90s was trash.
Think so?
Listen. Raina, listen, let me tell you something. Now that we hear it, I mean, a purist that will just cut through the chase and be like, nah, it was kind of trash.
You're listening different now.
Yeah, right? But they won't say that because they feel that everything that's going on as of now isn't hip-hop, right? So when I hear your music, right, sonically I'm hearing from different ears, if you may. But I'm also experiencing different eras as well. So when I have to refer a sound, I'm on a Long Island Railroad this morning, and I'm with a friend of my age, and I'm like, nah, you gotta hear this, baby girl. I'm like, nah, listen, and he's zoning.
And thank you so much.
Right, but I didn't have to say, nah, it's a little vulgar, you know what I mean? We're hip hop heads, so we were prepared for it. He's zoning. So I asked that when you officially completed the project, did you sit down with a team?
You know what? I didn't really, and that was on purpose. I can be a very tough critic, and I can be a perfectionist. So after I've already ripped through a project, to then sit down and have others provide what further I should rip through, oh my goodness, it would have never come out ever in a day of life. But people's opinions are important to me to some regard. I want to ensure that things are connecting with the audience. So I'll confide in people who are close to me, and let
How about your father? I met your moms and your pops, right?
Yeah, everything. My father hears everything, which most things I'll say. Some things he don't really need to hear, but that's definitely somebody who, if there's anywhere where I got my understanding of classic, quote unquote real hip hop from, that's where it's from. So I definitely like for him to hear things and give me his opinion.
Album.
But I can't always go with his opinion,
right?
Because we do feel differently about certain things. Right. So sometimes I just have to. I think as an artist, it's really powerful to be able to just stay in your own head and acknowledge that people may not like this, and that's okay. As long as it's a matter of you're manifesting something into the real world that initially started in your head. That's
Indeed.
a really powerful experience anyway. So that's the approach I took, really. I stopped listening to all outside music. I stopped asking people questions on my music. I stopped caring about the answers to the questions if I was asking. And yeah, it was just all right, I feel good about this now, so let's put it out. And then on the back end, I can see how you all feel once it's already out.
Indeed.
So
was it therapeutic?
Very much so. Throughout that album too, I have a lot of voices on there that are very, very important to me, whether it be great-grandparents or grandparents, aunts, cousins, best friends, that together still are collectively telling a story. So it was very therapeutic. It made me tap into a lot of things and a lot of memories and a lot of people, and yeah, it was very much so therapeutic. I think art in general is supposed to be therapeutic.
Supposed to be, but some people don't see it in that.
Yeah, and then it's not art anymore.
Right. So once again, there was elements. There was just the echoing of voices, of sounds, of family. The album cover. Tell me about the album cover.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You know what? No one's asked that question yet, and I love that question. But yeah, the album cover really speaks to me too. I think that's a visual representation of all that I feel internally. I'm picturing it in my head so I can make sure I catch every single thing.
That part.
So you'll see two cupids first and foremost that look mighty confused. Yeah, at the time my love life was quite confusing, which you may also hear throughout some of the music. So you got the confused cupids, my baby cupids, and then of course you have me as the centerpiece surrounded and as a painting, surrounded with me and my family and some of the others who own that project. In the background is black and white images, but the visual representation of me itself, half of my hair is straight, half of it is in an afro, and you'll see that there's a lot going on the afro side. So first and foremost, that to me just represents duality, and the ability sometimes to be able to code switch, even if it's not in vernacular, but code switch in terms of just how you're moving through certain spaces, and that necessity to almost conform for the sake of safety, but without fully conforming, such that you're assimilating and losing self. So that's a lot of what that visual representation is. And then you'll see on the afro side that there are two hands. There's a black hand that is holding a gun, but the gun is being controlled by a white hand, or we'll say a lighter colored hand, which holds strings to the black hand, sort of as if it's a puppeteer controlling a puppet. But the quote-unquote puppet who's holding the gun is essentially breaking that infrastructure, and the gun is shooting out flowers rather than bullets.
Oh my!
And giving this subject the flowers rather than bullets. And at the same time, the hand holding the gun, you'll see, is resisting materialism as well. There are watches on the wrists, which are like handcuffs, but the handcuffs have been broken on the other side. Let's see, what else?
This is abstract purposely.
It
Yes.
is. And, there's a lot of other meaning in there, too, that I don't want to give up too much of. But, the way the hands are positioned is also creating the shape of Africa in my hair on the afro side. And then, you got some other little language in there to decode. I'm a huge fan of Jean-Michel Basquiat.
Yeah.
And so you'll see a lot of that as well. Defies is written on the lighter hand, as well as money signs. And of course, to Basquiat, that meant defacement, and that meant the way in which the infrastructure tries to deface those of color to dictate their own
She is so powerful,
narratives.
y'all. Very much so. And let me just cut you off, right? What makes this so unique, right, is that the typical person may not ask, right, to define the cover. I remember us growing up, we would open a case of they call it strawberry casing, right? Just from me, I know that. But anyway, I would open it up, and it spoke in volumes. And we would always want to we would see it, but don't see it, right? Now, when I was a bad boy and I was in prison, right, I seen a cover, but I seen every element of the background. So what you seen surfacely, I seen highlighted. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So when I seen the cover, right, I was a little thrown off. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And you know what? I forgot to mention I'll say it after you give yours, Mr. Red, but I forgot to mention one of the biggest pieces too.
Right. So I seen it, and my hunger to get the breakdown, not only of the album, but the cover was at a high point. So when you breaking it down, I'm like, though she's laying this out, they still missed it. It's like a deep song that you put out, and you be like, did they catch that, or did it go over their head?
Right.
So continue on.
Now, yeah, and I think most things will go over heads, which I think is okay too. I want it to be so obvious that it was abstract and obscure almost, but most of what I'm saying, I'm always very explicit in saying and being real about. But yeah, furthermore, so I'm it's really a mugshot of mine, and the main image that's drawn. And so when I'm holding the plaque that says Old Soul New Conscious is actually the direct plaque that Huey Newton was holding. And so you'll see that the numbers are actually exactly the same, except I've changed the date to 24 rather than 78, which I think he went in 78. Or was it 76? Don't quote me on that.
No, yeah, but we around that. Yeah, yeah.
It's changed to 24, but the identification number is the same. So, that's somebody I look up to. I love Huey Newton and Bobby Seale for that matter. Come on, but anyway, say all that to say, yeah, there's a lot more in the cover art as well. But I'll start there, and then the background images. I really wanted to show that I've been doing music for a long time. So, whereas production and poetry over the beats may be new, I've been playing piano for a long time, violin, saxophone, guitar. So, just wanted to show who I am. And there's different pictures in there too.
Of course.
The pictures of me graduating, from college, and there are also some pictures that I found of me, on the block. So it was important, again, this idea of duality and just understanding and making other people understand rather than two sides are always there.
Yeah. So was it more just the vulnerability of just the faces of Raina Simone?
I think so. I think
or not. Excuse me, not to cut you off, but the duality, right? So the duality aspect of what you're saying, we can go in a myriad of ways with this, right? But the cover itself speaks in volumes, but it kind of mirrors the music as well, because when you look at the cover and you hear the sound, right? It gives you this vulnerable individual from, like as you said, the religion, current times, the essence. I wouldn't say confusion. I wouldn't say frustration. But then again, I could possibly say that. There was a host of different types of elements going on there on both sides. Was that purposely done?
I wouldn't say it was purposely done, but I do think it's important to really give all. That was one thing I was big on with this project too, is just giving my all. I think we're in a state of music right now where a lot of people are afraid to be vulnerable or show true self in music. It's very much so, what caricature can you most be like such that it's easier to sell, and this whole idea of, this gimmick kind of new marketing means as it pertains to hip hop music. So I wanted to put every emotion out there that I feel. Every human feels every emotion at some point in time. Nothing's constant. Things vary, but you're gonna feel every emotion at some point in time. So I was hoping the same for the project.
Well, you defied the odds, right? You definitely defied the odds.
Yeah, I tried to. Thank you.
No, and no try and eradicate that from your vocabulary.
I appreciate
you
that.
Defied it.
Thank you.
I'm here. You know what I mean? I'm like in awe right now. How long will you allow this project to bubble before you move forward?
You know what? I'm really going to push this very hard for about a year. And, a lot of things we haven't even really gotten started with yet. I've been trying to be very calculated, too, about the way that I'm rolling this out. I'm very big on the idea of, like, incline and the climb rather than, a blow-up sort of thing, and then it's like, the only way you can go now is down.
Right.
So, I've always been very big on longevity and ensuring that I'm on a steady incline the entirety of the time. So I plan to push this project very, very hard for the next year for sure before I drop another one. And with 24 songs, I think that's, easily possible. Even if I was just pushing 2 every month, really, really hard.
Right.
I also wanted to set up so I have enough to do that. But yeah, we're gonna push this very, very hard.
Swerving. Tell me about Swerving.
For sure. What do you want to know about Swerving?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's so radio, and it's sad to say that it's radio friendly, but it's captivating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's sing-songy. It speaks. Talk to me. Where were you?
No, thank you. It's interesting that you say that because I maybe it was created with that intent. I wanted to, somehow create a record that I thought was commercial enough for the radio to be able to play it, but not so commercial that the purists felt like they were losing out on the rawness of the hip hop sound. So, the hook I wanted to make a little vibey. You can still vibe to it. It just doesn't feel like you're being preached to.
Right.
But on the verses, you're still like, oh, okay. So it's rap.
Right.
So that was the goal with that record. But love that record. I actually did that record down in Atlanta, with Def Beats and Yak Beats and myself. And I don't know, maybe the Atlanta vibe seeped in a little bit too.
Yeah, buddy.
Think so?
Yeah. I was hearing some things there. I ain't want to say it. I just want you to say that.
I can't hate on that too. Shout out to ATL.
Video wise, how many videos do you want to put out?
For sure. So there's a video to every song on this project. In addition to the visualizers that I've been putting out. So I've been rolling out these visualizers first, and then the official videos will come. The Swerving video is already out previously, as well as Shooting Stars from the project. But everything else is a new video that's about to roll out. So those are all ready and in the tuck and ready to go. There's another one coming on Thanksgiving, the official video for Ruler, which I'm super excited about.
Whew.
Yeah, that song's been taking on
tell me about
a
Ruler?
life of its own.
Where were you at with Ruler? Because Ruler was just... I could show you my phone. It's highlighted.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Tell me about Ruler.
For sure.
From the production, just and the words itself.
Absolutely. So in 2021, I went viral for a freestyle to "If I Ruled the World" by Nas. I woke up with like 3 million views, and it spooked me a little bit, but that showed me that there was a market for that and for that content as well. And I realized I think certain things really are timeless when you're talking about certain content that's still gonna affect people for forever. And I think that's one of those records that has that kind of content. I always had planned to make it a full song. I just wanted to make sure it was done correctly, and I wanted to make sure that there was then a second verse that I felt like matched the first. So once I got that second verse, I felt good to go with that record.
Give me your best line on there.
My Santa Claus is a black woman, my father is God, and my Jesus something like Robin Hood, get back to the block. My Mary just got an afro, she turned into a bob. With long nails, they called her Jezebel, but they missed the plot. I think a lot of people didn't get that. I think a lot of people may not.
Well, I got it, because I was in my phone. I'm telling you, I highlight as one of my joints there.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, so for that record was just about self-empowerment and self-love, and just me encountering all the experiences I went through as a younger person, and how I came to understand self as black in America.
Mm-hmm.
But also keeping it real still, I never wanted to feel like I'm preaching to people, because these are still things that I really experienced, like in real life.
Right,
It's one thing when someone's telling you about something from an outside perspective, which a lot of people in music actually are. A lot of people do not live the things that they're telling you about.
Right.
So it's an outer perspective telling you about something. But, it's different when it's coming from the real perspective. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear and that could really be felt. I think when you are talking from real experiences, it can be felt.
Indeed.
I was speaking about real experiences with my cousins and my grandparents, and my mother as my black Santa Claus. So I think people connect to that. And that beat, of course, I love. I had to do an interpolation of "If I Ruled the World" by Nas. So that was my interpolation on the machine.
Now, I know that there's a lot of inspiration, right? But the inspiring of this album, I know that you said that you've just cut all sounds off, but give me some inspiration in regards from the music standpoint and the artist-wise. I don't care if it's a rapper or I don't care if it's blues. Give me some inspirations in regards to the album itself.
Absolutely, I would definitely say people like the Miles Davises, who were very forward-thinking in terms of pushing genre forward and not really caring about whether things sounded new and old school meshed together, because it was like his own sound that he was creating anyway. Even if people didn't catch on right away, and it took a little bit longer for people to understand it. But influences like that. But also, I'm really a family-oriented person, so I take a lot of influences from my ancestors, whether they're here with me still or not. I feel like that's what I tapped into most with this project. Those same voices that I let you all hear in some of the records. That's what I was tapping into.
Nice. So I was tapped in as well.
Yeah.
Schooling, right? I know that you graduated. You graduated. You're in the process of still doing music and loving music, right? As we stated, it's therapeutic.
Yes.
You graduate from Howard. What becomes a priority, right? Career, music-wise, or career, right?
That's a super interesting question, actually. You know what? I think that had stuff not started going viral on TikTok, I might still be behind the desk. Granted, I've always done music, and that was never ever going to change ever in my life. I think once you're a musician, you're always a musician. So that was never going to change. I would have always been doing music on the side. But in terms of putting my all into it and focusing and deciding that's what I'm officially going to do as a career path, I was definitely sitting at a law desk. So that's where I would have been elsewise or elsewhere. But once I saw that there was an audience for the things that I had to say, I almost felt like I was doing a disservice to myself.
So you were there. You were working.
Yeah, I was working. So I graduated. Actually, it's interesting with me. We got sent home during the pandemic.
Right.
So I guess that was even more fuel to the fire when you're at home and the degree is coming, but it's like, all right, well, I'm here, I'm on classes sometimes during the day online.
Right.
Y'all got me stuck at the last minute. There was a lot of time to do music and dive into other things and just think different thoughts when you're stuck in the house for almost 2 years.
Right.
So that was a little bit of a blessing in disguise, even though that was such a chaotic time.
So when the world opened up, it was just like...
It was go time.
it was go time, career wise, right? In regards to law, right, or music wise.
You know what? I was doing both at the same time, and I just said whatever takes off first, I'm gonna just go with. So like coming from that Bars on I-95 freestyle, which was like the first platform freestyle I'd done. I remember being so frustrated because I was rushing from a law firm in Brooklyn, and I felt like I was looking so crazy. I left my shoes and everything. If you see the behind the scenes in there, I'm wearing dress shoes.
Right.
And I meant to be wearing my Timberland boots so I could be looking fly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I think life has a way of showing you further what path you're supposed to be on. So I'm just a student of life. I just like to listen. At some point, I want to tap into all these things again. I feel like these things together are what make me me. But I also realize that I think I actually have more power to influence certain things and give certain messages through music where I can reach more people than, law, where I'm working on a one-on-one kind of basis.
Indeed.
But essentially the goal and the methodology is very similar.
Okay. And I ask that, right, because once again, this, for some artists, there may not be a cushion.
Right.
There may not be a cushion. And you got a great cushion going on there. You know what I mean?
But you know what? I move like I don't, because I think that you have to.
Indeed. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. And it's been working. It's been working.
So.
Was there some slack from your parents?
You know what? No. My parents have always been very supportive. They're part of the reason that I am a musician. So,
Indeed.
Like I said, I've always been a musician. That wasn't something that was new. So I did my first mixtape when I was 12 and like forced everybody around to listen to it. So, none of this is a surprise to anybody who's known me.
Right.
But I've always also been somebody who kind of wanted to be a jack of all trades, but when you're a jack of all trades, you're a master of none. And so once I really understood that, that's when I started narrowing in and just focus on the music. But they've always been supportive of that.
What was your first rap name?
Oh my goodness, Smalley Biggs.
Smalley Biggs.
Smalley Biggs.
Ooh, woo.
Smalley Biggs.
Smalley Biggs.
It was so bad I used to write it on my tests.
What?
Yeah, I used to make the teachers call me Smalley Biggs. I know Horace Mann's still a little mad at me, but
I put on Front Street there, y'all. And she had the nerve to say it too, and she said it fluently.
With pride, too.
Yeah, with pride.
Because you know what? When I think about that now, that was kind of clever for a 10-year-old, I can't be Biggie Smalls, but I could be Smalley Biggs.
I could be Smalley Biggs. Oh, man, I love it. I love it. I didn't mean to throw your equilibrium off, but you was fluid with it, so it was cool.
Yeah, I went by the Queen for a long time. I'm sure some people remember that. Yeah. Oh, my goodness. Yeah.
And you just said, F it, I'm just going with Raina Simone. I'm just going with my government.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there any features that you would like to, feature artists that you would like to work with?
Absolutely.
And moving forward?
Of course. There's so many artists I want to work with.
Give me three.
On a large scale, on a smaller scale?
Midway first. Let's go three.
Yeah.
Midway.
See, I shouldn't have said that because now I'm categorizing people differently. So I'm going to put this all together.
Yeah, let's put it all together.
I'll put it all together. I would love to work with, of course, the Givens, my Mount Rushmore,
Ooh.
Cole, Kendrick, Jay, Nas, and people like Chuck D. I still love Public Enemy.
Come on now.
And then
I could see you doing a Chuck D. I mean, I'm a big Nas fan, but Chuck D, you and
I love Chuck D. I tried to get him on this one actually, but it was a little premature.
Yeah.
But I'm coming for the Chuck D record.
Say that.
There are a lot of people. I still want to work with people like Capella Gray. I still want to work with people like Lola Brooks. Still want to work with people like John Baptiste and Esperanza Spalding, the musicians. Who else? The list goes on and on and on. People like C.S. Armstrong. C.S. Armstrong is a great soul blues singer who I just love. I have a very, very long list. Music for me, it doesn't really stop. So I always say, I'm going to be doing it for forever. So people got to either jump on now or be late later. I got a whole running list that I'm determined to make sure I get records in with everybody on that list at some point in time. And everybody who's on this project as well as features was previously on that list. So I'm glad to have been able to make some progress with that.
And some of the features. Tell me about some of the features.
Shout out to R2R Mo, my brother forever, DJ J Hood, Ransom, and Youngster CPT. Youngster CPT is an amazing rapper from South Africa. Um, who did I say already? That may be all.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, HD for President, JP
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, don't leave nothing out.
Yeah, shout out to JP from Milwaukee, HD for President from the boot. Yeah, I've been blessed to be able to work with some amazing artists so far, so I look forward to more.
But Ransom, hold up. Ransom is one of my. He's lyrically. How did that come about?
You know what? So Ransom had me on his project actually first, which was like a huge deal to me, and I really love and really respect that, and just Ransom really means a lot to me just for his wanting to have me on that record as an artist that's still growing. And he reached out to me, and I was like surprised because Ransom is a goat to me too.
Right.
When I got that message, I was super surprised. And then I'd done the verse. I did it the same night because I was like, we're not letting this opportunity slide. Ransom on the verse, he's getting it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Send that back to him in like 12 hours, and then I hadn't heard anything for a while. So I'd assume it was a record that he might not release, but I was still cool with it. Like I got to hear on my phone, even if it was just my phone, a record with me and Ransom. And then he ended up releasing it to my surprise, and I was super excited. I love that record. He put Talib Kweli on that record as well. So that was cool. And then because of that, I'd reached out to him when it was time to do my own project, and he was basically like, all right, you did mine, I got yours. Like, it's a done deal.
Wow.
Easy, no question, no problem. So, to have people who I consider legends look out for me like that and show that love and support really means a lot.
Indeed.
Mm-hmm.
As we close out, right, I want to talk about mental health. Mm-hmm. And I know you talk about a wealth of different things, especially community-based, and you definitely talk about people of color. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you really touched up on mental health and our communities. How do you feel when you hear mental health, right? Mm-hmm. Illness, mental health, wellness. Where do you go with that?
I think that's a very big topic that disproportionately affects our community as well. If you understand the way that trauma is passed through genetics in general, we're predisposed to certain mental health conditions against our will. Mental health is very important to me, especially and I did talk a little bit about it on the project. I didn't have one song dedicated to mental health because I didn't necessarily want to be corny. I don't want to be that person who's like anti-depression, but I'm an artist myself, and I think artists, the way our brains are wired, we have mental health issues anyway. So that's something I know very well, and that's very important. I think it's important that we medicate ourselves, whether it's through therapy, whether it's through actual medication, whether it's through different spiritual means or herbal medicine. However best it works for us, I think it's very important that that's something that we aid and really pay attention to. Because it manifests in so many different ways.
Indeed.
And as people that are disposition to something, is even that much more important for us to understand the way it's affecting us. I'm very big on mental health awareness in our community.
Yeah, I'm a stickler for it. I say that because in the hip hop community, a lot of artists experience
absolutely
depression. I mean, a slew of different diagnoses and fear talking about it. And I figured you would be that voice piece.
Yeah,
not voice piece for.
I have anxiety, depression, ADD, so throw it all together. But
has it ever hindered you?
You know what? I think it's gonna hinder you no matter what at some point. But I think when you learn certain methods and understand, cognitive behavioral therapy and ways that you can sort of train your brain to better address these things, of course that helps a lot. So thankfully, I've been dealing with these things for long enough where I had to make that the case so that I could be productive and still
Indeed.
moving forward. So I'm thankful to say that. I think that's really important. Like I said, whether it's therapy or medication or ways that you're tricking your brain into thinking differently, all of those things are very important because it is easy for those things to get you stopped in your tracks.
Yes, definitely. Besides music, besides just
actually, you know what? The project even is a little bit about that. The project really is my journey to finding and understanding happiness. So The cops outside.
Yeah, that part.
But yeah, the project is all about my journey to finding, securing, and understanding happiness, and what to me is the biggest prize in this world that I didn't know at the beginning of the project, but that I find out at the end. So
Via people telling you?
via a journey that I just had to go on, recounting my own experiences
Okay.
and better understanding self and the world around me.
Indeed, indeed. Besides the music, and besides just being a dope producer,
Thank you.
is there any other business ventures that you would like to branch out into?
Oh yeah, of course. I can't even say too much
Uh-oh.
because sometimes they like to stop the magic before it hits full effect.
Oh my!
But I've always been involved in everything. Like I said, maybe that's part of the ADD part too. I don't know. I got to be involved in stuff. But I'm a huge writer too. Outside of lyrics, I write books. I have a book out called The Cost of Identity, which speaks about incarceration.
You have it out?
Mm-hmm. This is I have a few books, but that's one that I'm very, very passionate about. That's with a few school curriculums already for their queer studies departments. But I have a book called The Cost of Identity. That's about mass incarceration, but specifically the mass incarceration of black trans folk, which is the most heavily incarcerated and highly incarcerated population, which I think a lot of people forget. But you can't be pro-black and not pro-all black people.
Indeed, indeed.
At that point, Hotep in my book, you pro some black. I can't trust you the same way. But yeah, there were really no numbers and figures explaining that demographic and that population and how it's manifesting to the rest of the community. So that was important to me to provide. It was inspired by Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow. Mm-hmm.
So when you said transgender
Yes.
people,
Mm-hmm.
right? So why hone in primarily on transgender population?
That is the population that needs it most. That's the most highly incarcerated population. It's one thing to say black people are most incarcerated, but when you really look into that, there are subgroups that are even more vulnerable and susceptible to those things. One of which being the trans community.
Okay.
For reasons none other than solely how they identify and how that transpires in different interactions and how that's criminalized in so many different ways. But yeah, I as somebody who says I'm pro-black and pro-all-black, I don't think that you can at all be pro-all-black and not be fighting for the causes of all black.
Indeed,
So
indeed.
that's really important to me too. And also just my understanding of our culture and where we come from. We've never been a transphobic or a homophobic people at any point in time. That's new for us. That's very much so Western civilization, Eurocentric ideology, and Americanized political thought. That comes from, buck breaking and slave masters, wanting to have same-sex enslaved folks have sex with him or each other. And then, you have mothers who are now scared for their sons to be exhibiting certain behavior because they're scared the master is going to come get them. So now that's frowned upon when it's not even the practice itself of homosexuality that's frowned upon, but it's a means of protection and survival and not wanting your child to be an easy picking.
You are so powerful.
Thank
you be
you.
scaring people, huh?
I
I love her.
appreciate it.
I love her. She is so dope with it.
Thank you.
She is so dope with it.
Thank you. But yeah, that's true. Our language.
Totally.
We've always had words for other than he, she. That's English. That's very English, Spanish, French. Those languages, Eurocentrism. We've always identified and understood two-spirited people to be otherworldly and godly in many ways. So. Yeah, so that was important to me to shed that light culturally back on that subset group of people, rather than allowing all to carry on that's carrying on now.
How is this book? So I can purchase this book online.
Mm-hmm.
How long has this book been
so
out?
when I write books, I'm Raina Simone X. I get a little more militant, but yeah.
You write in what?
I was saying I get a little more militant.
No.
With the
yeah,
books.
Yeah.
So
That part.
My name with the books is Raina Simone X.
Okay.
But yeah, I got a whole lot more that I'm writing on too. Right now I'm writing on the ways in which black discipline derives from the ways in which slave masters disciplined enslaved folks, and that's actually become a really interesting study too. So looking forward to. Oh my gosh! And then I just wrote on how ownership changing in hip hop affected the entirety of like forward mobility and compared it to Reaganomics and like the crap being put. It's gonna get interesting, but yeah. So that's my next goal, my next focus. There are a lot of things that I want to do. a lot of investments that I want to make
Okay.
as well, a lot of areas that I'm looking to involve myself in. But I didn't want to be that irritable, mad old lady who is just mad at the world because I never put my all into music and I watched everybody else do it and surpass me. So that's the goal right now. I got to put my all into what I'm most passionate about. But there's so many things that I'm still looking to do that are in the works.
I love it.
Thank you.
We said all this, right? We said all this. We'll get ready to close out. We said all this, but performance. I haven't really seen you perform.
Yeah. You know what? I was taking a little break because I didn't want to perform the music too prematurely before I put it out. But I actually do a lot of performances. I do a lot of performances. Whenever I perform, I like to perform with a live band. That's super important to me as a hip-hop artist. But I love to perform. I always got an instrument in my hand when we're performing.
And you play all instruments?
I wouldn't say I play all instruments.
One more again, what instruments you play?
I play the piano and the violin very, very well. I play the saxophone fairly well, the alto sax, and I can play the guitar a little bit, but piano and violin have always been my main instruments.
I love her. She's so dope. Where we at with Elroy? Where we at with it? You said what? Do you think your hair's dry enough to do that quick performance?
You know what? Let me see real quick. But I love this interview. Thank you, Mr. Terrell.
Of course. I needed this. This is therapeutic. I'm a counselor as well. So.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can kind of tell in the energy. I love it. I love it.
And it's crazy because you delved into the LGBT. I can go on with the letters, but yeah, that world, and it was amazing. And I say that because, as a young lady, just to delve into that and to quote unquote be an MC, the fear. I thought we was off. I thought it was off. Oh, I ain't know you was. I thought it was off. I ain't gonna lie to you.
And I'm still in conversation.
Oh,
surprise!
No, but I for me, I love the fact that there's no barriers, and I think we need more of this in hip hop.
Absolutely.
Being you, despite whatever and however people feel, it's important to use it as a vehicle to voice your opinion.
Absolutely.
To voice not even your opinion, but to voice life. How about that?
100%.
So I applaud you and I thank you, and I am a fan, I'm a supporter, and whatever's needed from my standpoint, I'm here.
Well, thank you so much,
Yeah.
and I know that to be true, Mr. Terrell. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
this was
fun.